Hey all, here are OS Reviews. Today we're taking a quick look at the GravaStar Mercury M1 Pro. This is a gaming mouse which is wireless that you can partially see into for some additional LED lighting. This is the same company that in the past has made quite a few unique looking Bluetooth speakers, so it retains a similar vibe. You can definitely tell it's part of the same collection from GravaStar. Packaging has quite a few accents going on, says be cool, play it. So it's going to work with Mac OS, Windows, Linux, so on and so forth, even mobile devices if you want to. There's a 400 milliamp hour capacity battery that charges using standard USB Type-C and weighs in around 88 grams. And we have in front of us the Battle Worn Edition Silver Mist color, but I believe it also comes in as Stealth Black if you prefer. They claim that it's going to be ergonomic in terms of the grip. You can also change, again, the sensitivity. Easy to connect and pair with multiple devices. There's also a plastic version of the mouse that sells for a little bit less that retains a overall similar aesthetic. Of course, if you don't want to use Bluetooth, you can also use it in the wired mode as well as 2.4G with an included nano receiver as well. And there are macro keys that you can program for selecting options in various games. Again, crafted out of magnesium alloy on this M1 Pro edition. And very interestingly, it looks like they're using Omron blue switches. GravaStar claims that the overall accenting on the magnesium alloy is hand painted on for every single mouse, which is definitely a ridiculous amount of attention to the craftsmanship. Makes it more of an artisan type of product overall. We'll take a closer look at the mouse in a moment. Underneath here, there's also the aforementioned nano receiver. You also get an interesting adapter that converts between USB Type-C and full-size USB Type-A, depending on what plug you have on your computer. And further down below, you'll find a quick user guide, as well as some unique decal stickers that you can use to customize the mouse even further by sticking these on. It says Boom, has kind of an interesting graffiti color to it, as well as some soft, it looks like silicone or gel pads, just to add a little bit more traction. You'll also find a braided USB Type-C cable to Type-A, and by the way, the user guide also shares a quick snapshot of some of their other products that we've seen in the past, whether it's speakers, headphones, or even chargers. And then further down below, there's something called the 4K receiver, which is very similar in functionality to the nano receiver that we saw there from before, except they claim that this slightly larger module, which again connects to your computer and then communicates with the mouse, has a little bit lower latency. More specifically, it claims to have a 4000 Hz polling rate compared to the standard 1000 Hz on the other nano receivers. You can pick between a faster responsiveness or one which is more compact, which when illuminated, it will look something like this on your desk. Now just a closer look at the M1 Pro. Overall, it definitely has a very striking appearance. That being said, some of the cavities here can potentially collect a little bit of dust and lint, so cleaning it may not be quite as straightforward as just a conventional smooth surface, but definitely looks unique with all of the small accent work going on, with all of the kind of freckled paint, but of course it's not actually peeling off, it's just designed to look that way. Some of the slogans there are recurring, and then we have that very kind of satisfying scroll wheel which is etched in the silicone that you can also press down on, as well as slide to the left and right for extra granularity. And this brown button on the very top, which is also quite clicky, is the DPI adjustment key to change the sensitivity. For example, if you want more subtle movements to have a larger impact on how the cursor moves, or if you want it to be less sensitive and require a little bit more movement, then on the left-hand edge you have two more macro keys which are customizable, super clicky, tactile, similar to on mechanical keyboards. The very top here features the Type-C port. It is a little bit more recessed than usual though, but you can use this for a wired connection or for charging, and otherwise the very bottom here just features the power switch that you can go through three settings, either turning it completely off, going into the Bluetooth profile mode, or activating the 2.4G wireless connection mode. It's slightly translucent in terms of the plastic underneath this part as well. That makes it look a little bit more interesting, and of course the center there starts to glow and flash once you turn it on. Almost reminds me of something like a firefly there in the dark. Here's a quick size comparison with a Microsoft kind of touch sculpt mouse, which is a little bit more compact. It's also going to be a Bluetooth mouse as well, but obviously this one here has more of that gamer vibe with the glowing lights as well as the promised lower latency. Taking a closer look at the companion software next, unfortunately it seems to be exclusive to Windows at the moment. There isn't a Mac OS variant. That would have been nice to see. Hopefully they'll add that in the coming days, but after you download this up and launch it, you'll be able to customize settings, including what those buttons buttons on the side of the mouse will all correlate to. You can also see the RGB lights start to flick onto life once it is successfully paired and connected to your device. Right now it's in the rainbow mode, and it does look quite attractive and mysterious on your desk. Otherwise, jumping into the second menu here allows you to change the DPI sensitivity of the mouse. So by default, you can switch between profiles like 1600, 2400, all the way up to 6400 and 800 at the slowest. It goes through that loop. So for example, 1000 instead of 1200, you're able to customize that. We can further click on the next profile here to customize additional macros, and this might be helpful if you're in, again, specific programs like Photoshop or a game where you're always trying to access one key to trigger a command. You can set that up and save it here in the software. Next one here goes through the lighting mode. So right now we are in the aforementioned rainbow. You can turn it actually completely off, and you can tell it will no longer glow and illuminate, or I can change it to some of the other profiles like a single color breathing, and this will kind of set it into a soft, let's say violet, or you can change into other shades based on the slider there on the right. And you can change the red, greens, and blues yourself as well, including the brightness. If you want to make it brighter versus dimmer, how fast you want it to be strobing and breathing can also be changed, and then turn it off after, say, 1 minute of inactivity can also be set. So here is also a neon color mode, and this one will be kind of flashing more of a single color as well. We can also change it into a rainbow flicker. This one here will kind of oscillate between all the colors of the rainbow. It looks like one at a time, slowly glowing and transitioning between those shades. So it seems to work well enough, and overall, again, quite easy to customize. The overall sensitivity as well as, again, effect does look quite good when you're in a darker space or environment. Fits in well with the whole kind of RGB glow of other type of gaming products you may have in your setup. So this is an example of a faster transition speed, for example. I think the rainbow gradient is still going to be my favorite out of the bunch, and I think the effect here does look quite good. The final tab here on the very top allows you to change the language as well as just test to see if you've successfully paired, again, using the nano receiver. But then last but not least, on the very top right hand corner, you can also gauge the battery percentage remaining on the mouse itself. And overall, like most Bluetooth mouse these days, the battery life can last for a pretty long time. It will depend on factors like how bright the LED lights are, and if you are always having them turn on versus only activating it when you're using the mouse, or turning it completely off. In a best case scenario with all the lights off, you can still use it for around 3 weeks or so, even a month, before you have to really recharge it again. If you have all the lights continuously flashing, that's going to be closer to about a week or two before you have to top it back up again. But really, it's not bad. It's not like you have to be charging this thing daily. So the features are there, but hopefully, again, they can make it compatible with other operating systems in the future. Otherwise, the sensitivity of the mouse is indeed quite good, and it essentially is just plug and play. No real additional drivers are needed just for you to use the mouse. Using it for applications like scrolling feels quite responsive and smooth, as well as all the buttons, again, do feel quite tactile as well. So cursor movements do feel quite precise. Here's also a quick sample of the DPI adjustments. This is on kind of the minimum 800 at the moment, so you have to make a larger movement on the desk to correspond to a similar size movement of the cursor, versus if we kind of increase the DPI, you can actually move the mouse less and less, and it will still react quite easily across the display. Here's also a sample of what it sounds like if you are clicking on the left and right buttons here on the top. So overall, it's quite tactile and clicky. Also, by the way, this is what the 4K nano receiver looks like when you plug it into power. So this little guy does not have additional, it looks like RGB lights. It's only going to be in this blue color consistently, but still looks quite cool and almost this alien kind of mecha design aesthetic going on. And now I've paired it using Bluetooth to an Android device. You can also use iOS devices, including iPads and iPhones if you wanted to, or of course any Windows, Chromebook, Linux machine, Mac OS as well, if you want to use, again, standard Bluetooth, instead of occupying a USB port via one of those nano receivers, you can choose this option instead. Just for casual computing needs, for opening up documents and multitasking, it already feels good enough. It's only when you're doing more high frame rate gaming and every millisecond counts is where you would probably want to opt for the other connection options. And all the controls, including DPI, can once again be set based on your preferences just by tapping on the key there on the very top, and it all works still quite well. So those options are built into the memory of the mouse and not necessarily just the companion software, which is good. What I will say though is, again, if you want to then transition it to other devices that you are connected to, you have to then turn around the mouse and then go into, let's say, the 2.4G mode from the Bluetooth mode. So it requires flipping the mouse around, as compared to certain models that we've seen which allow you to connect to maybe multiple devices simultaneously, even via Bluetooth, and you're perhaps able to switch back and forth between 2 or 3 simultaneously paired and connected devices at once. So that is more or less it as far as our quick hands-on review, again, of the GravaStar M1 series. And in particular, again, this is all about the design and the aesthetics. Even though it's GravaStar's first time making a mouse, I think it's a pretty competitive model all in all. You are definitely being charged a bit of a premium for the Pro model because of the higher build of the magnesium alloy, which does indeed look and feel quite good. Surprisingly lightweight, but still very responsive to interact with, and definitely looks very striking and unique. Performs well enough as well when it comes to overall responsiveness of the cursor movement, and all in all really is not a bad mouse at all if you want something that has this kind of mecha unique styling going on. That being said, again, not the perhaps best value that we have ever seen, but all in all it still is a pretty solid mini mouse that definitely looks, again, quite striking. You can check out more details if interested in the links down below, but for now that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's been the GravaStar M1 Pro.